Elena adjusted the strap of her cleaning cart and pushed it down the gleaming hallway of the Grand Meridian Hotel. Her uniform was a size too big, fraying at the seams, but she held herself upright with quiet determination. Every room she cleaned, every bed she made, every surface she polished, it wasn't for her. It was for Mia, her 7-month-old daughter waiting at home in their cramped apartment. Mia needed baby formula, diapers, medicine, warmth, all the things that cost money Elena barely had. With her husband long gone and her family unwilling to help, she was both mother and father, protector and provider. The hotel job barely covered rent and food, but Elena refused to give up. She'd take any shift, clean any mess, as long as Mia never went to bed hungry. The Grand Meridian wasn't just any hotel, it was the jewel of the city, a place where politicians, celebrities, and billionaires came to rest. Chandeliers sparkled like stars, marble floors gleamed under the lights, and every room looked like a piece of another world. Elena sometimes caught herself staring at the lavishness, wondering what it would feel like to belong in such a place instead of just cleaning it. But she always pushed those thoughts away. She couldn't afford to dream. Still, there was one room that lingered in her mind more than any other, room 501. It belonged to Alexander Ward, a name whispered among the staff with equal parts awe and curiosity. He was a billionaire investor, a man who owned skyscrapers and companies across continents. He was known for his sharp mind, ruthless deals, and untouchable presence. Most employees never even saw him. His bodyguards, assistants, and business partners came and went, but Alexander himself remained an enigma, tucked away behind the door of his luxury suite. For Elena, he was just another guest on her cleaning list. Yet somehow, stepping into room 501 always felt different. The air carried the faint scent of expensive cologne, the sheets were still warm from where he had slept, and documents scattered across his desk spoke of a life so far beyond her reach that it seemed almost unreal. She tidied the papers with care, smoothed the bed with precision, and whispered to herself, "This is not my world. I am just passing through." One rainy Tuesday morning, Elena's routine shifted forever. She knocked softly on the door of 501, expecting silence as always. Instead, a deep voice answered, "Come in." Her hand froze on the doorknob. Guests were never supposed to be inside when she cleaned. Still, orders were orders. She pushed the cart inside and nearly lost her breath. There he was. Alexander Ward stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, his tall frame outlined against the gray city skyline. He turned, and his steel-blue eyes locked on hers. Elena felt the air catch in her lungs. He was younger than she imagined, mid-30s, maybe, with sharp, commanding features. His tailored suit looked effortless on him, as though he had been born into wealth and power. I'm sorry, sir," Elena stammered, her voice trembling. "I didn't realize you were in." His gaze studied her quietly before he gave a small nod. "It's fine. Go ahead." Her hands shook as she began her work. She fluffed the pillows, straightened the sheets, dusted the tables, all while acutely aware of his presence. She had cleaned 1,000 rooms, but under his watch, she felt clumsy and exposed. Then, as she bent to pick up a stray glass, something slipped from her pocket and clattered onto the floor, a small pink rattle. Elena's heart stopped. She snatched it up quickly, but Alexander's voice cut through the silence. "You have a child." She froze, the rattle clenched in her fist. "Yes, my daughter, Mia. She's everything to me." Something flickered in his eyes, an emotion she couldn't name. But before he could say more, his phone rang, and he turned away, speaking in clipped tones about deals and contracts. Elena took the chance to escape, her cheeks burning. That night, rocking Mia to sleep in their drafty apartment, Elena tried to push the memory away. "He's a billionaire. You're a maid. Worlds like his don't collide with worlds like yours." Still, she couldn't shake the image of those piercing eyes softening at the mention of her daughter. Days passed. Elena avoided 501 whenever she could, trading shifts with another housekeeper. She couldn't risk another encounter, her nerves couldn't handle it, but fate had other plans. One evening, after a grueling double shift, Elena trudged home carrying groceries in one arm and Mia in the other. The sky cracked open with rain, drenching her in minutes. Her umbrella flipped inside out, and a passing bus splashed her skirt with mud. Shivering, exhausted, she pushed forward toward her apartment building. A sleek black car slowed beside her. The tinted window rolled down. Alexander Ward sat inside. "Get in," he said simply. Elena's breath caught. "What?" You'll catch pneumonia walking in this storm with a baby. Get in. Every instinct screamed not to trust him. But Mia whimpered against her shoulder, and the rain was merciless. Against her better judgment, Elena slid into the warm leather seat. The car smelled of cedar and power. Alexander studied her, his gaze lingering on Mia's tiny sleeping face. You work harder than anyone I've seen, he said quietly. Why? Elena let out a bitter laugh. Why? Because formula costs $20 a can, rent is $500, and no one cares if a baby goes hungry. That's why. To her surprise, he didn't flinch at her bluntness. Instead, he smiled faintly, not mocking, but admiring. You're stronger than most people I know. When the car stopped outside her crumbling apartment building, Elena flushed with shame. The peeling paint, the broken lights, it was a world far removed from his. She muttered, "This is me. Thank you," but before she could step out, he said her name. Elena. She froze. How do you know my name? He smirked faintly. I make it my business to know the names of people who matter. Her heart skipped, but she left without another word. She couldn't afford to imagine what he meant. Yet their paths kept crossing. Sometimes he'd linger while she cleaned, asking questions about her life. Sometimes he'd offer her a ride home. Slowly, a fragile thread of connection wove between them, a thread Elena tried desperately to ignore. Then came the night Mia fell ill. The baby burned with fever, her small cries weak and pained. Elena rushed to the pharmacy, but the medicine cost more than she had. She worked extra shifts, skipped meals, begged for overtime, but still came up short. Desperation clawed at her chest. That evening, a knock sounded at her door. Alexander stood there. Without a word, he stepped inside, saw Mia's flushed face, and immediately called someone. Within minutes, a private doctor arrived with medicine, supplies, and calm assurance. Elena's tears fell freely. Why are you doing this? I can't repay you. Alexander knelt beside her, his voice low but steady. I don't want repayment. I want you to understand something. Money can build empires, but it means nothing if you have no one to fight for. Watching you, fighting for your daughter with everything you have, it reminded me of something I lost. She met his gaze and, for the first time, saw the man behind the billionaire. His eyes carried loneliness, grief, and a longing he hid from the world. Room 501 wasn't just a suite. It was a cage, and perhaps, she realized, fate had led her here for a reason. From that night on, things changed. Alexander became more than just a guest. He became a presence, steady, protective, almost like the missing piece she never expected. For Mia, he brought warmth and laughter. For Elena, he brought hope where there had only been struggle. She never imagined that scrubbing hotel rooms for baby formula would lead her to him. But fate, as always, worked in mysterious ways. Elena had walked into 501 as a maid. She left it with her life forever changed. And as she held Mia in her arms, Alexander's hand brushing hers gently, she realized that sometimes destiny doesn't come wrapped in riches or power. Sometimes, it comes in the form of two broken souls finding each other in the unlikeliest of places. Got it? Check mark. You'd like me to continue the story with a full part 2, approximately 1,500 words, that develops what happens after Elena and Alexander's first connection. To make sure I match what you want. Do you prefer part 2 to lean toward a romantic fairytale arc, they fall in love, maybe marriage family hinted, or a realistic struggle arc, support, challenges, but not neatly resolved? This way I'll expand the continuation in the direction you want, and give you a full, rich 1,500 word sequel.